Okay, hi everyone. It's me, Z-Bubs. In case you can't tell, here I am trying to be funny. So my mom has diverticulitis, and she has, as always, the person who you'd want to take care of you at the hospital is the nurse. Because she has more experience than the doctor. The doctor is just some fucking asshole. And you know who else you'd want to take care of you is the person at the fucking pharmacy. No, I'm serious. You know who's gonna actually help you? The person who works at the fucking pharmacy. That's the person who's gonna tell you the thing you need to hear, not the doctor. But anyways, so my mom needs 2 kinds of antibiotics, and they didn't give it to her at the hospital after they kept her in there for like, I don't know, 10 years, waiting to do their CT scan to verify she has diverticulitis for probably some sort of legality. It's really nice out. And then they didn't give her the 2 kinds of antibiotics. So she went to the pharmacist, and the pharmacist said, you know what? The kind of antibiotics that they didn't give you is the kind that you actually needed. There's a certain kind that you need for your gut. And that's the kind that you needed, and they didn't give that to you. So my mom went back to the walk-in clinic to say, I'm having pains again. And the doctor was a complete asshole. And he said, I'm gonna give you this, but just so that I can say that I did something to help you. And I said to my mom, who I believe my mom is a gang stalker, just so you know. And I don't approve when people gang stalk gang stalkers in a fucking not giving them the thing they need sort of way. I'm trying to keep calm here. Okay, I'm actually very happy. I'm a little bit worried too because my acid didn't ship yet. And I recently wrote a review on the beer store webpage telling the guy who's an obvious alcoholic that he should do acid instead. I said, go to this website and buy some acid, Shrooms Delivered Canada. Which probably isn't going to be very helpful for any of you listening because you're probably from America and you can really only buy acid within Canada safely, and you pay tax on it and it's pure. I mean, if you've done acid as many times as I have, you know the chances of getting high quality acid made by some guy in his basement, it's not going to be that good usually. And so having literally a lab-tested pure acid is fucking amazing. And they handed it over to the post office about 24 hours ago, and the tracking number has still not been scanned. And so I'm worried that I've been saying online that people of all ages should do acid. And if your parents say it's fine to have beer, I say it's fine to have acid, because I'm a pillar of the community. And so my opinion counts. If your parents say it's fine to get blackout drunk, then I say it's fine to do a whole tab, etc. And I even made jokes about I'll buy it for you and leave it in the forest, but that actually was a joke. I would actually not do that. And I made that comment to the guy at the beer store on the Google review, saying you should do a 4-pack of acid. You are such a, is this guy, what the fuck is this guy gonna do? She was attractive actually. And what was the point? What was I talking about? She looked like the woman from Life is a House with Hayden Christensen or whatever his name is, the guy who was in the Star Wars movie. He's really hot. The woman who, he hugs her and he's like, sometimes love is not enough. And she's with this ATM machine, just a goober. She's with a guy who, if he was poor, she wouldn't be with him. And it's not to say that the guy who she divorced, I was afraid I didn't love you, and then I was afraid you didn't love me. Have you ever been there with your beloved over the course of a decade? That'll shift your reality. You're totally unworthy of someone, And then you switch it up to actually, you're unworthy of me. But he was probably unavailable. You know, it wasn't that he was poor that she broke up with him. And remember the scene when he said, it's been so long since I've been touched in the hospital. There are so many guys who go through that. There are so many guys who are literally putting a kinetic machine in their mouth because you don't even realize as a woman, when you go by laughing and like flirting and taunting him, he's actually been single for like 30 years. You know, like, but anyways, it would take you 10 minutes to find someone. It would take him 30 years. And you're just rubbing it in his face. Like, you have no idea. But anyways, you know, I'm not trying to be a humanitarian here. I think she may have left him because he was unavailable. Because he was doing his own thing. And she actually wanted someone who would be unavailable totally, so that it wouldn't humiliate her. Do you understand what I'm saying? That even though with her new husband is also unavailable, but her new husband doesn't have the capacity to be available. Her old husband had the capacity to be available, but because he's more intelligent, most likely through the Coolidge effect, he stopped being available. And that really broke her heart. So she said, you know what? I'm gonna get myself a drone. I'm gonna get myself a guy who is not even present to begin with. And that way, he can't even humiliate me. He can't even abandon me because he's not even there to begin with. And you can see the difference between them when she's having dinner with her ATM machine guy who's emotionally unavailable. And you can see the depth that he lacks. He doesn't have the depth. You'd feel bad for her. Anyways, that woman looked like her. I really liked her. She has a very distinct look. So we didn't get any vehicular assaults at the place today. That's pretty cool. And there's this one woman I really like. She's a counselor. I've never seen her. But by her writing, I can tell she's attractive. No, you really can. You'd say, well, what about Stephen Hawking? You're making the comparison that someone is really intelligent. What about Stephen Hawking? Is he beautiful? Well, maybe. Maybe he is. I don't know. You know, there's someone who I know in a wheelchair who has cerebral palsy who might be watching this, and I'd feel really bad saying that Stephen Hawking, this guy who I know in a wheelchair, is much better looking than Stephen Hawking. But this woman's intelligence, you know, you could say like, well, you're saying someone's a nerd, and that means they're intelligent, or that means they're good looking. I mean, no. I'm saying, given by her writing, just the way she talks, I can imagine that she looks distinguished. You know, she's a grand person. But one thing about her, I would never say this to her, okay? One thing about her is she's negative. I don't want to say it. You know, they shot her dog, okay? They shot her dog. Yeah, that biker was lame. And that soccer mom totally recognized it. But I don't care. You know, that biker actually didn't scare me. That, you know, there's a fucking horn going on. That biker actually didn't even scare me. But he scared that mother. So this woman, her name is, well, I don't want to say her name, but it's like Leon or Ione or something. And she's really negative. She's like, you know, everywhere I go, every single person in my whole life, they're all turning on me. My friends, my family, every restaurant I go to. And I'm like, are you serious? I mean, are you serious? Do you think that people are not good in general? Are you fucking crazy? Do you think that the fact that they shot your dog doesn't mean that the gang stalker also knows that their dog will be shot? Isn't that like a total precedent-setting event that when you shoot someone's dog, it shows that you don't care about innocence and that you will punish anyone? And therefore, how do you blame the gang stalkers? And why wouldn't you be friendly? My best friend, one of my best friends, you know, and sometimes all he really wants to do is smoke weed. And frankly, I don't really like his music. When we hang out, he says, okay, let's smoke weed and play guitar. And the way he plays guitar, I think, oh God, your timing is off. I'm OCD as fuck. If you play music and your timing isn't right, I don't like that at all. I'm huge on timing. And I don't like your style of music, and this just bothers me. So every time we hang out, I always say the same thing. Let's just go to the strip club. In which case it's fun. This is one of my best friends. But he would be gang stalking me, and he would say, you know what? I've lost my soul. I've lost my soul, dude. And finally I stopped calling him because I recognized he was gang stalking me. And then I called him back recently on his birthday without realizing it, which may have been a subconscious thing. And I said, hey, what's up? You know, let's go to the club. And he said, I can't. I'm with my friend. We're watching the Blue Jays game. And I said, okay, well, and he said, but you know, it's crazy that you're calling. I haven't heard from you in a long time. And I almost said, well, yeah, that's because I realized that you were right, that you don't have a soul. But I just realized that you were actually wrong and that you do have a soul. Because if you didn't have a soul, you wouldn't have felt bad about not having a soul. And in high school, I asked him once, do you think you'd go to hell if you died? Or do you think you'd go to heaven? And he paused and he had a genuine moment of reflection. And he said, I don't know. And he's one of those kind of people who, if you ask him a question, he will answer you honestly. And I have other friends who are brainiacs and seemingly a lot more manipulative. And I don't particularly think that I'm a brainiac. I think I'm like a mid-range intelligence. But I think because of being raised by women, I have intuition. And I think that counts as a higher form of intelligence. I sometimes genuinely think that having a high IQ really means that you have a high obedience to authority. And that's really all it means. Yes. Nice dumper on that pig. And really that when you're having a high IQ, it's not really the fact that you're smart. It's the fact that you have memorized irrelevant cultural trivia and memorized irrelevant pattern recognition that only an autistic person would do. And I say that knowing full well that one of my favorite people has autism. In fact, many of my favorite people have autism. And I'm not saying that to be mean. So today is a very good day. I'm not exactly sure what is reducing the torture of the gang stalking, whether it's my evidence sharing, whether it's my extending friendliness to all the clubs, saying basically, I don't want to join, but I don't judge you for being part of it. And I also recognize that if you tried to quit, you would probably be targeted. So I don't care. So I'm not sure whether it's that I'm love bombing them or whether I'm just sharing evidence in a tactful way and not making a big scene. And so when I see people like that woman who's a counselor, she's a counselor. Can you believe that? That woman on Quora that I'm talking about, who says, everywhere I go, everyone I know without exception. And she's a counselor. She's supposed to know about positive thinking and positive reframing. And yet she's having the most negative attitude you can possibly have. And how do I know? Because I've also had a negative attitude like that, and I've seen that it doesn't really help, and that it makes things much worse, and that you actually miss out on your whole family. You actually have a worse time. And that's a huge mistake. Don't think it's trivial to have a good mood and good talking. To have a lighthearted conversation with people and to feel appreciated. You know, to be able to offer them, as Nick says from MDE, a donut. That's actually a significant thing. Hello. Oh, did I leave my gloves? Where are my gloves? Okay. That's actually a significant thing. If you could just go to somewhere and say, here you go, here's some food, here's a gift. That's actually... Okay. That's, for some people, that's very difficult. And I'm one of those people. But I can do it, and I have done it. And I've been very proud of myself for doing that. I've thought, you know what? I'm one of the people now who knows how to be a schmoozer. I know how to schmooze. I did that with the people at the Self-Help and Peer Support. I brought them some bakery goods, and I said, you know, I'm really needing you guys to give me this position here. So as a bribe, I've brought you some sweets. And the guy who sold them to me was so good looking. And then he walked by the window right as I was giving him the sweets. And I wanted to say, oh, check out how hot this guy is. He's really something. But that would have been a little bit too much. But I know they would have, you know, agreed. Yeah, I miss them. Even the one who sent me a dirty video of herself, implying that she was watching me on hidden cam, which was really creepy. Even her I love. Okay. But what set me off with her, you know, I did turn on her. I did talk shit about her. I did basically tell everyone what she did. The reason why I did that was because one time she told me, I figured you out. Because I kept telling her, you know what? I appreciate the fact that you have homemade candles and that the person who makes your wax candles doesn't even use protection from the bees. Okay, I appreciate how holistic you'd have to be. But as a vegan, you've probably taken the wings off the queen bee. You've probably done something really fucked up to that queen bee. And I do not approve of your fucking wax candles. Do you know what she did? She kept sending me pictures of her wax candles. Do you know what I did then? I went ballistic a little bit. I basically said, I think you're doing this to antagonize me. Do you know what she did then? She comes to the group next time and she sits across from me and she says, I figured you out. Big mistake, bitch. Big fucking mistake. I was not flexing on you. I was being so patient. I was being like a true goody two-shoes, Jesus-believing woman. A real one. One of the ones who is 1 in 10 million rare. And you still had to go and put gum in my hair. And therefore, when you sent me that video of yourself hiding your face, and you called the police on a bunch of guys, implying that you tried to mess their hair up too, that's not gonna fly. Sorry, but you got put in the meat grinder. But still, I have to admit, I do love her. And I have to admit, I do love the fact that she sent the video. Even though I don't think I had romantic time to it, although I might have. But the gift was mainly spiritual. It was mainly saying, okay, I'm spying on you. Let me give you something to show you that I don't actually judge you. Let me show you that I'm actually, you know, watching you, but I feel bad for it. Okay, I'm watching you for pleasure. It goes beyond the role of my job. I'm watching you for pleasure at this point, and I feel immoral about it. But let me at least give you something back to ease my guilt. Okay, that matters to me. And I hope that she knows that. I've needed that. A lot of people wouldn't understand that. But I think they would actually. I think people in general would understand that. You feel spied on, you feel invaded. So let me show you something too. Yeah, I think people would understand that. So I'm definitely in a better mood today. I'm doing mood therapy. I'm planning in advance for all the things that might go wrong. And I'm preparing for it. And so far, nothing has really went wrong. And so it's fine. I'm having a good day. I'd say I have a good day about 90% of the time. You know, I had a good day every day this past month, except for maybe like 5 days. Maybe like once a week I don't have a good day. Whoa, okay. Okay, I hope I'm not being rude here walking on the sidewalk or biking on the sidewalk. I don't think you can tell. It really doesn't pick up very well. But the wind right now is so crazy. I have a thing on my microphone that makes the wind not really that noticeable. But if you could actually hear the wind from my ears, the sound of the wind is actually extremely loud. And as for times of crossing the street, okay, I don't know what this guy is doing. Okay, I'm gonna go, thank you. I'm not in a hurry, you know, I'm never like, okay, I gotta get the right of way. You know, it doesn't bother me at all. I'm an old freak. I'm going out for walks and stuff, okay? I'm sitting around waiting to die. I don't have anything to do. But I'm enjoying it, okay? It's not a masochistic thing. It's not a defeatist thing. It's not a life is hopeless thing. I still enjoy life. A lot of it really has to do with my attitude. You'd be surprised. This woman, this counselor, who I take responsibility for, I think she's my pig. She says, you know, the way you can get out of being gang stalked is you join the Freemasons. And I say, why don't you just be nice to everyone and make it so that the gang stalking doesn't even bother you? Why don't you just make friends with the gang stalkers, and then when you go out, you just see your friends? Like, why wouldn't you do that? Once you know that if they quit, someone's gonna shoot their dog, how could you be angry at them for not quitting? Like, you actually couldn't. And then once you're aware that you live with your mom and she has a nice house because she doesn't quit, how can you be angry? Like, I'm living off the coattails of it. What do you think I'm gonna do? Go be homeless or something? Are you crazy? Are you fucking insane? So, yeah, no, I think it's much better to make friends with people and realize at that point that your attitude actually determines a lot. Not only does it determine how people treat you, but it determines how smart you are to be able to figure things out. Because sometimes, as the guy in Life as a House says, love is not enough. Sometimes you have to actually show people evidence, for example. You have to be smart about things. And if you're just love bombing people without showing them evidence, and then getting really angry when your love bombing doesn't work, because it's not really loving to begin with, because really it's just a tactic and it's kind of hateful. Really, it's just out of fear. And all your energy goes into that, so you don't even have the energy to be intelligent, then just love is not enough. Your love has to be balanced with your intelligence too. And that makes tremendous difference. And even this doctor who was mean to my mom, oh, I'm gonna blog about him. Oh, don't worry, I'll be blogging about him. Yeah, I'll take a nurse over a doctor most of the time. I'll take a pharmacist and a nurse over a doctor a lot of the time. Now, who's better? A surgeon? A surgeon is of a higher quality. A surgeon is better than a doctor. What the fuck is this? Some red thing on the road. I don't know what this is. Looks like a pylon. Okay, so we had no vehicular assaults today. Today was a very nice day. Very nice trip. Got some chicken. I'm gonna wait until tonight to email the company about where my acid is and what's the deal with that. ChatGPT says it's pretty normal, especially on a Thursday, that it'll actually get scanned by like Friday in the evening. So if it doesn't scan by tonight, I'm gonna maybe wait till tomorrow even to email. I'm a VIP customer there. I don't even know what that means, but they sent me an email saying I'm a VIP customer now. And I don't want to mess that up and nag them and say, where's my package? Shut up, Stu.